The Prime Minister is in trouble, behind in the polls, under fire over terrible growth figures. And his backbench revolted this week over his bungling on his energy policy. And today, Malcolm Turnbull decided to change tack, to be more aggressively conservative. Now, until now, Turnbull has largely avoided the culture wars, partly because he's actually a man of the left in charge of a party of the right. Awkward, right? Fight a culture war, chances are he'll be fighting his own side. Same-sex marriage, global warming, multiculturalism. But today, Turnbull did buy into one culture war. The issue, the left's takeover of much of our state education system. And the example, teachers planning next week to wear T-shirts to school, attacking the government's border policies. Shirts with "Close the camps, bring them here." Now, the teachers plan to wear these shirts even in classrooms where they can, as one of the organisers, socialist activist Mark Goudkamp, told 3AW.
In some schools, then they'll be, when you say they're worn into the school grounds, they'll be worn into the classroom?
That, again, will be taken on a school-by-school basis. I wouldn't personally see a problem with that being done.
There is a problem with that, of course. It is an abuse of the teacher's authority. Here are activist teachers using their privileged access to children to groom them, to other people's children. And it's to use that access to impose their political opinions on these poor little things, defenceless, because there's a power imbalance here. Which child in those classrooms would dare argue back against teachers wearing those shirts and in their propaganda who've labelled Immigration Minister Peter Dutton a poisonous racist? Which child will say boo to that? So Turnbull went whack.
It's absolutely inappropriate. The political campaigning has no place in classrooms, and the teachers should be focused on teaching. We've seen with the fact that our ranking internationally has gone backwards in maths and science, and in the PISA results just this week. There is a lot of work to be done in our schools, and it doesn't include political campaigning.
Not bad. But I don't think the Prime Minister should stop there, because there are two big issues here that he really could go hard on. And the first, why have the science, maths and reading skills of our 15-year-olds fallen for more than a decade, even though we keep putting in more money to our schools? Now, is that because the left has for decades now dominated the teaching business, has stuffed the curriculum with crazy things like gender awareness programs, the safe schools indoctrination, gender fluidity, global warming propaganda, sustainability preaching, and a stress on teaching even maths from an Aboriginal perspective? I'll give you an example involving maths, which our students are now worse at than ever. The National Maths Curriculum says students will explore connections between representations of number and pattern and how they relate to aspects of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures. I mean, really, don't worry if you can't add up as long as you are culturally sensitive to the sums. Now, I think the Turnbull government should get stuck into that. The curriculum, the indoctrination, from teaching, gender fluidity in primary schools to funding women's studies in universities. The second issue is related. Why is it that people of the left are so often more likely to abuse the authority that they are given by the government? Teachers or judges or arts bureaucrats, you name it. For instance, when we hear of activist judges, it's never because they're activists in a conservative cause, is it? No, they're more likely to be like that Queensland magistrate, last month it was, who refused to convict 3 protesters who climbed onto the roof of the Immigration Minister's office to denounce him as a racist and cruel for our border policies. And this magistrate told them Listen, if one of my daughters was caught doing like you did, I'd probably be very proud of her. Not his role. Same thing with the taxpayer-funded ABC. Again, it's also meant to be impartial. Instead, full of activists of the left. This morning again, there was the ABC attacking the Liberal MPs who reject the carbon tax, and quite rightly, as a damaging attack on our economy that does nothing to stop global warming. Oh, the outrage.
If the trick of a great big carbon tax or great big tax on everything and the carbon tax will destroy your life as you know it worked last time, then it's worth a shot next time. And this is very disappointing.
Whether it's schools or judges or the ABC, whatever, the Liberals have got to realise that the more power they give to government, the more power they give to the left. And it's a power that the left tends to abuse. So start calling it out and cut down the ABC, cut the size of government. They're both too bloated. Give parents more power to send their children to schools of their choice, schools which aren't socialist factories. These are just some of the battles Malcolm Turnbull could be fighting if his heart was in it. Today's effort, just the start.